What is up, everybody? Bandit here. So I get this question all the time. What do I think of the Ford Raptor? Well, let's talk about it a little bit. So what Ford effectively did with the first generation Raptor is made a from the factory desert running Baja style truck. You know, it did have Fox shocks, did have the original BFG KO tires, had all kinds of modifications above the standard F-150 to make it more capable off-road. Now, they did take a year off, and with the 2017 Raptor, it is all new and redesigned. Going back into history a little bit, this isn't the first time that Ford has tried sort of a sports truck, if you will. You know, in the 90s, Ford did have the Ford Lightning, and you know, that was a V8 powered single cab short bed truck that was, you know, just kind of a muscle truck, if you want to call it. And what Ford did with the first generation Raptor is kind of brought that back, but went a slightly different route with it. You know, instead of having street tires and be more street biased, they went with, like I said, the Fox shocks, and they went with a real aggressive off-road truck. They stretched the body panels, and like I said, essentially what they did is they made a very off-road capable F-150. Now, since the new generation F-150 did come out with the all aluminum body and everything like that, it took Ford a little while to adapt that to the new Raptor, but what they did is pretty incredible. So here's a picture of it here on the cover of Car and Driver, and actually I just saw one of these last week when I was down in Florida, and it is a really, really good looking truck. So like I said, this truck is based off the all aluminum F-150 now, but it did lose the V8 and gain an EcoBoost V6, and what that did for performance numbers at least is it added about 40 more horsepower and about 75 foot-pounds of torque. Now that paired with the aluminum body now on the new Raptor and the new F-150s does bring the truck in a good bit lighter, and it should make it for a much more kind of lively ride and everything like that. Also, what is going into this truck is the new 10-speed automatic, which was co-developed with Chevrolet, and you know, you'll be seeing that in the new Mustangs and new Camaros and probably the new Corvettes here before too long. So with the facts out of the way, let's get down to what I actually think about this new truck. Now, when the first generation Raptor came out, it kind of put all the other automakers on their heels. You know, the likes of GM and Ram and those companies didn't really have an answer for this new Raptor. You know, Ram did have the Power Wagon out, but you know, it wasn't a really popular truck, and you know, I really don't see a whole lot of them on the roads. However, since this new Raptor has come out, it's brought out the Ram Rebel and other trucks of that same kind of caliber. You know, before, an off-road truck was like a Z71 Silverado, which is basically just a standard Silverado 1500 or 2500 or whatever truck you want to have, with just different shocks strapped to it. But when the Raptor came out, it was a completely redesigned off-road truck. Now, the other question I get all the time is, would I have a new Raptor or the first generation Raptor? And the answer is no. You know, for the off-roading that I do here in the woods, you know, on fairly tight trails, it just really doesn't make a lot of sense. You know, the Tacoma that I'm driving right now is plenty wide, and if anything, just slightly too wide for the trails that I like to do. You know, I do have a little bit of pinstriping here on my truck from those narrow trails. But, you know, if I did live out west and was on more wide open trails and, you know, could get into maybe some desert running and that sort of thing, I would be all over the new Raptor. You know, it is a really, really good truck, and it did make some pretty good advancements over the last generation. You know, I am kind of old school, and I am a fan of the big V8, and big V8 sound and everything like that, but you can't deny that the horsepower and torque ratings are really impressive with the new truck, and you know that now that it is lighter, it has to be an even better performer. So where does this leave us? Well, personally, I respect the Raptor a lot. While I wouldn't have one, I do certainly thank the Raptor and Ford for bringing off-road trucks back on the map and making a lot more competition in the segment. You know, here in the past couple of years, we have seen a huge rise in off-road trucks, and whether those people are actually four-wheeling in their trucks or not, you know, more sales equals better competition and better trucks across the board. So tell me what you think. Is this new Raptor your dream truck, or do you think that the first generation Raptor was a better truck? I look forward to having this conversation with you all in the comments below. So thank you all very much for watching. Have a fantastic week, everybody. We'll catch you next time.